Broadcasting live from the sunken hollow on the plain of Zendikar, this is Tap Tap Concede. Welcome everybody to Tap Tap Concede. Bunch of new lands now to be broadcasting from.
Yeah.
Bunch of old lands that we could use anew.
Yeah. But man lands.
But the man
There's
lands
new
are
man lands. There's new man lands.
Yep.
I'm kind of excited.
But we're not talking about
those today.
Yeah.
Today we're talking mono Eldrazi. All day long Eldrazi. We're talking about spoilers. We're going to talk about the preview cards that have been released so far for Battle for Zendikar.
So if you haven't played Battle for Zendikar yet, you might want to turn off the podcast now.
Exactly. I don't know what the
Unless you want the
statute of
ending-
limitations is on these things.
Unless you want the ending ruined.
So yeah, we're going to be talking about...
It's true. They call them... Is spoilers the right word that they use for the... like?
No, they say previews.
Yeah, they
say
do say
preview
previews.
cards.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
We do have a preview card, by the way, and the video for that will be coming out in... Oh, we should film it soon. Okay. 3 days. 14th.
We should just say it right now, and then we'll put it up on Monday.
I thought
And
we
we're
were
done.
spoiling it here.
No, we're
I've
not
got a
spoiling
tweet
it.
to delete then.
No.
Uh-oh.
Oh, God.
Yes, but so today we're just going to talk about a bunch of the colorless Eldrazi previews that have been released for Battle for Zendikar. But first, we're going to crack a pack. Cam, you want to
Definitely.
chuck that thing across the room? Or just roll it there?
7.
All right. Do. 2, 4, 6, 7. That's
Something-
correct, right?
something
2,
good.
4, 6.
Something
Oh, this is interesting.
Ooh.
Interesting. So this is a you don't see a lot of these around. This is a Mirrodin Besieged booster.
But not just a normal one.
No, this is a Phyrexian faction pack from the Mirrodin Besieged pre-release because you had to pick Mirrodin or Phyrexian, and then you got, was it 3 and 3?
I think it was 3 and 3.
You got 3 normal boosters of Mirrodin Besieged, and then 3 faction boosters.
Yeah.
Or was it 3?
4 and 2.
I thought it was 3 faction, 3 scars.
Oh, it might have been. No, that can't. Maybe it was 2, 2, and 2. Who knows?
Who knows?
I can't remember.
Look it up on the
anymore.
internet.
Nobody knows anymore.
internet
But,
will
so
tell you.
yeah, this is the Phyrexian faction 15 card booster. So these will all be Phyrexian cards. This was given to us by Mike at PAX East. Thank you,
Hooray.
Mike. And let's get into this somehow. There we go. So this would have been from a store that had some left over after their pre-release, I guess.
Yep.
Alrighty. First up, Fuel for the Cause. 2 blue for an instant. Counter target spell, then proliferate.
Yeah.
Yoda.
So it's... So what's the Bone to Ash?
Yes, I was just about to make a parallel to Bone
But
to
then
Ash.
you also get to proliferate.
Bone to Ash,
Draws a card.
Draws you a card.
but only counters creature spells.
Creature spells.
So this is more like cancel,
Yeah.
but for an extra colorless mana, you get to proliferate,
Which is sweet.
which is relevant in this format. And
Yeah, so proliferate,
you're a big fan of
possibly top 3. Like, if I had to...
of your mechanics.
Of my mechanics,
Really?
proliferate, I think, would fall somewhere in my top 3.
I do like proliferate.
I feel like it would be there. We should do an episode of like top 3 mechanics at some point.
Yeah.
That could
But
be
that would
fun.
require some research because I would need to actually look into it because there are mechanics that I just often forget existed,
Storm.
and then come Storm and Storm. All right,
Yeah,
so
there we go.
There's Cam's top 3.
Yeah.
Cam's easy.
Well, it's when you pick Storm, then it copies itself for each other
Yeah.
mechanic that other people have
Storm
mentioned.
count as 3.
So yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. All right.
All right. Viridian Emissary. It's a 2/1 Elf Scout for 1 and a green. When Viridian Emissary dies, or on the card it says it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, but now it's dies, you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped, and then shuffle your library.
Yeah. Big part of a lot of pod decks.
Really? Mm-hmm. Oh, I guess you get like multiple value off of it.
Yeah. You ramp yourself, you get a 3-drop.
That seems good.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was super fine and limited. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still just a 2/1 for 2, and then gives you that benefit.
But then
of
you get to ramp.
Yeah, exactly.
I love the name of this one, and I thought the white infect creatures were really cool. This is Tyne Shrike. It's a 2/1 flyer for 3 and a white with infect. I thought the when because in Scars of Mirrodin, only green and black
Yes.
and blue creatures.
No, blue had a lot of proliferate, but I don't think it had Thrumming Bird in Scars,
Right.
but I don't think it had any native infect creatures.
Because so Blighted Agent would have been from Mirrodin Besieged.
Don't quote me on that.
All right.
Maybe I'm just wrong.
I think it was just black and green, and then
Yeah.
they spread it out in Mirrodin Besieged. That then, as the Phyrexians were taking over, all the colors ended up getting more.
Yeah.
Infect, and Tyne Shrike and the Priests of Norn, they were cool. As it turns out, the white Infect deck actually didn't come together very often because there wasn't as much support for it.
Yeah.
So this card didn't get a lot of play in Limited that I recall, but it's not awful, I guess. Morbid Plunder. 1 black sorcery. Return up to 2 target creature cards from your graveyard to your hand.
Sure. I mean,
It's this card.
yeah, this
Yeah.
card has existed in 1,000 different.
I mean, in Magic Origins right now, you have Macabre Waltz, which
Yeah.
itself is a reprint. And it's 1 and a black for the same effect, but with Macabre Waltz, you then have to discard a card.
yeah.
So this is better in some ways and worse in others.
Yeah. But yeah,
This
these
dude's
are all like
just hauling zombies or
these
corpses,
are,
I guess.
These are all like fine. So
All right. Gliss's Courier. This was an interesting one.
I like this card.
1 green for a 2/3 with Mountain Walk.
Yeah. I like this card a lot.
Those Volshock are going to get effed in a moment.
Yeah. Well, because Volshock, what's the red? The one red
Yeah, there's the one with
Oh,
Forest Walk.
for Forest Walk. Is it Volshock? Was it Refugee?
I thought it was
think so.
Messenger. I thought it was someone's messenger. Koth's messenger?
I can't remember.
Or Koth's
Either way,
courier?
there was one that was one red for a 2/3 with Forest Walk.
Yeah.
And I remember that card just being ridiculous back when I actually played Standard at around this time. So
Maybe we'll look that up. Hey, Cam, it's your favorite do nothing.
Ooh.
Ichor Wellspring.
Hey, Plank.
2 colorless mana for an artifact. When Ichor Wellspring enters the battlefield or is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, draw a card.
Yep.
It's the Phyrexian Plank, is literally what people called it at the time. Because it doesn't do anything by itself, but it's a key sort of tool
Yeah.
for other decks. Like the Eggs deck uses this, doesn't it?
I think it does, yeah.
Yeah.
And you just you play it, it cantrips, you pop it,
the
draw a card, replay it, or recur it.
Boros Pauper deck that I've made, that we made, plays this card along with a bunch of other draw card artifacts that you sort of interact with. Oh shoot, what's the stupid? I can't remember the name.
The core,
the
flyer that when it comes into the battlefield,
Yeah, you have to
return something to your hand.
Yeah, which is super sweet.
The Skyfisher?
Core Skyfish.
Yeah,
yes.
that's it. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. All right, what's up?
Next is Serum Raker. It's a 3/2 flyer for 2 blue. When it is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, each player discards a card.
I mean, so 3/2 flyer for 4 is fine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Like it's not phenomenal, but
Yeah.
it sits there at the 4-drop and you're okay with it. But the second ability is kind of whatever.
Yeah, it sure is a card, Serum Raker. I would not have
Yeah.
remembered this card was in the set.
No, definitely a 23rd kind of card.
Yeah.
Hey, Flayer Husk.
Hey.
Living Weapon. Single colorless mana for an artifact equipment with Living Weapon, which means when it enters the battlefield, you put a 0/0 black germ token onto the battlefield as well, and you attach this equipment to it. So it's and then this equipment gives the equipped creature +1/+1.
Yeah.
So the 0/0 germ token that would die otherwise, you get this 1/1 token, and then it has equip for 2, so you can equip this to a different creature for 2 colorless mana after the germ token chump blocks or gets killed, or you decide that it is no longer worthwhile.
You just sacrifice it for no value.
Yeah.
Get out.
You evict the germ token.
Yeah.
And sometimes it happens if you need to like move that extra power onto a flyer.
Yep. No, absolutely.
And most of the living weapons, I think, were illustrated by Igor Kiriluk. Kiriluk?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
And
Yeah, they all have a very coherent look.
Yeah, they're all really sweet looking,
cool.
except for Batterskull.
Yeah.
Which looks weird.
Yeah. I have no idea what Batterskull is.
No, I don't know what it like.
Nobody knows what
I get the
Batterskull is.
point.
That's the whole thing.
It's like a battering ram thing with a skull on the end of it. The promo art Batterskull makes way more sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if you can find that to put on screen, but the
Just the pack Batterskull.
that one. See?
Mhm.
So
Okay,
you can
yeah.
see the
Yeah.
little germ sitting up top there.
Yep.
And then it's like a bunch of legs and a giant skull. And it just sort of goes wham.
That's also illustrated by Igor Kiriluk.
Oh, it is too.
Yeah.
Could you find the one from the pack?
Because the one from the pack I remember being much more kind of a batter loaf.
Yeah.
This
it's
is
like,
Mark Zug.
It's like, what's
Yeah,
happening
that's a
here?
different
Yeah.
person.
You can see the germ. He's sitting on the back there, and there's like a bunch of little legs. And it's like there's a tusk,
Yeah.
and then it took me a while to realize that like the thing on the left is like a Volshok or something, or an Oriok getting ramboed.
Right.
And then, I don't know. There's too many teeth in weird places, and I don't like it.
All right.
Whatever. Anyway, the point is the living weapons are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know what other creature was fine? Flencermite.
Oh,
So
right.
it's a 1/1 gremlin. That's interesting.
Gremlin.
Yeah, for 1 and a black with Infect and Lifelink.
Weird.
So it deals damage in the form of -1/-1 counters, but you gain 1 life for each counter it leaves behind. This guy was
No.
not amazing.
No.
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 I was very excited by this one, though. Unnatural Predation. It's a single green mana for an instant combat trick. Target creature gets +1/+1 and trample until end of turn. The trample is
Yeah,
what was relevant.
very important.
Because this was how you actually connect with your infect creatures,
Yeah.
right? Because it's just like, I have this giant infect thing, and someone's like, all right, whatever, I chump block it. And then you're like, haha, you actually die.
Well, take 7 counters.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of combat tricks that grant trample. At least at the time in Standard, this was the only one. Because I remember, actually at the Community Cup, which is coming up next weekend, I played a Infect deck with like the elf. What was the elf called? Glistener Elf?
Yeah. The 1/1 for.
Yeah, the
Yep.
one with Infect.
Yep.
And it was like groundswell, unnatural predation. Whomp.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. How about this guy? Plague Mirror. This is interesting. It's a 1/1 mirror for 2 colorless mana with Infect, and you tap to add 1 colorless to your mana pool.
Hey, buddy.
The Plague Mirror. He's got all the smoke gouting out of little teeny smokestacks in his back. It's kind of interesting.
I remember this guy being good.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Because he just
it's-
like
it's
he
a-
ramped you into your more
it's a
expensive
mana
infect
dork, so-
creatures,
Yeah.
but also when it was time to turn sideways, he's 1 more infect counter.
Yep. Gruesome Encore, a card that became sort of a joke for LSV. 2 and a black, sorcery. Put target creature card from an opponent's graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It gains haste. Exile at the beginning of the end step. If it would leave the battlefield for any reason, exile it instead. So you get, it's like an act of treason
From the graveyard.
from their graveyard.
Yeah.
Only from their graveyard.
Yeah.
I don't know why exactly this became. I think he made a lot of puns about it. I don't know why this became a joke for LSV. I just remember people getting him to sign Gruesome Encores.
Yep. I really don't know. But
So.
the card is not very good.
Speaking of which, Quilled Slagworm
Pardon me?
is an 8/8 for 4 green. So for the exact same mana cost as a Palaka Worm, you get this garbage.
Yeah, this card's not good.
An 8/8 vanilla in this format. It's big.
I mean, with the +1/+1 trample. Kind of cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
trample.
what's nice about the Quilled Slagworm is that you can block and kill a succession of creatures with Infect.
Yeah.
Because it's like an 8/8, you block a 2-power guy with Infect.
Yeah, it goes
you
into
kill
6/6.
it, then it's a 6/6. You can block, and you can maybe trade this for 3 different guys with Infect.
Yep.
Over the course of the game, but
Yeah, it's still not very good.
it's not amazing.
No.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
What's our rare?
Are you serious?
Oh,
Are you serious?
Is it
Spine of Ishsa.
Hey, look. Hilarious.
We need to stop letting you open the packs.
As soon as you said, "Oh no," I started searching for Spine of Ishsa because I knew what it was.
I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
How many is that for you?
I don't know. This is like the 8th one I've opened or something from packs. So this is, okay, Spine of Ishsa, 7 colorless mana for an artifact. When it enters the battlefield, destroy a permanent.
Okay.
Okay.
When it's put to the graveyard, return it to your hand. So I have a better understanding now than I did when I started to play about why this is good, right?
Yeah.
Because 7 mana, you just get to destroy anything.
Yeah.
And then if you have like artifact sacrifice, which didn't come up a lot in this limited environment, but there's ways to like, to sacrifice it to stuff, and then you get it back in your hand, then you can cast it again, you can destroy a different thing. It's slow, but you can just like chisel the way through.
Yeah.
The reason we were laughing about it is because when we started to play, we would just buy packs to open because that's what we did. We're like, we want to play Magic. We want to get some packs for these little kitchen table decks we're building. So we're going to open a pack and crack it open and see what we find. And I got so many of these freaking things. I actually had the double header at one point of the Spine of Ishsa and foil Spine of Ishsa, and because they weren't not playable for me. They did nothing for me. I was like, why? Why do I someone over there is opening Planeswalkers and I'm opening friggin' Spine of Ishsa? I can't believe that I opened one here.
It was seated, obviously.
I can't believe that.
On camera.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I blame Mike. That was Mike's fault.
Damn it, Mike.
Come on, Mike. What are you doing? Hey, that's got to go in the box.
I know.
You fool.
I'll get it later.
It's lost its value.
What value?
It has carpet burn now.
I will let you know that at the medium price it's 29 cents, but at the high end it's $1.45.
Snap.
I feel bad for
There's some
anybody who
value.
Nobody pays the high end, though.
Not for Spine of Ishsa.
If you are looking for a Spine of Ishsa, I believe Graham still has several that he's willing to trade.
I've never been able to
Rare
get rid
for
of them.
rare. Rare for rare.
Rare for rare.
Speaking of super expensive colorless spells, let's talk about Battle for Zendikar, shall we?
But specifically, let's talk about the Eldrazi
You're gonna pull up
in Battle for Zendikar. So,
spoiler page here.
if you want to follow along, if you're listening, you can just head over to mythicspoiler.com and scroll down until you see the big block of Eldrazi. That's where we're going to be looking for today.
Should we start with?
We just start number 1 on the list, which is Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. So this dude, come on, Ulamog is ridiculous. 10 mana for a 10/10. When you cast Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger, exile 2 target permanents.
But what happens if I counter it?
You still get.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter,
it
right?
doesn't matter. Yeah,
You still
It's when
vin-
you cast
it's when
it.
you cast
You still
it.
vindicate twice.
So it's still vindicate for 10 at the very worst,
And-
right?
And they get exiled.
yeah.
Which is like, not only is that pretty bad for your opponent just because they can't do any graveyard stuff, but there's ways in this format to use their exiled cards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, the first clause in this card is clearly to sort of replace Annihilator, which is gone
Yeah.
from this set. No more Annihilator.
Yeah, rather
which
than-
I'm super happy with.
I'm actually pretty happy. Like, Annihilator was super cool. I know people are kind of bummed that Annihilator's not back, but it's actually just not fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
You feel like a big man when you're making your opponent sacrifice, 2 or 3 permanents just by attacking.
And not only are you just
But-
you're attacking with a creature that is almost just impossible to block. Because like if they want to block it, then they have to sacrifice their lands, and then they have to like triple block it to kill it, and then you've essentially annihilated them for 5.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of. It's the same feeling of being really skilled that an NBA player would feel if they came to like my high school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And fought us at basketball. Like you, I believe, and I'm inferring from your tweets the other day, got sort of rolled by some Annihilator in an ROE draft.
Whatever. Opponent resolved Ulamog. What are you going to do? It's Ulamog.
Yeah.
Right? And I had answers in my deck. Like, I could Red X...
Heat Ray.
Heat Ray.
Yeah.
Right? Heat Ray. Mm-hmm. It was... He hard cast it. Well, not hard cast it, but, like, it was turn 9 at that point.
Wasn't Ulamog still indestructible?
I don't think Ulamog was indestructible.
I can't remember.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll look
I
it up.
remember looking at the card and thinking, no, I have outs to this.
This
But,
version.
like, it was just like getting annihilated and having to sack either my board, which...
Yeah, that guy was.
Oh, he is indestructible. I had other outs, though. But, like... It was like, no.
Narcolepsy. Take cares of Ulamog, amusingly.
Yeah.
Go to sleep, Ulamog.
Yeah.
Go to sleep. But this guy, the new one...
So the new one also
switch back
has
to it.
indestructible.
Yeah.
And then it also has whenever Ulamog attacks, defending player exiles, not just mill, not just put them into your graveyard, exiles the top 20 cards of his or her library.
So
that is obscene.
So in limited, that's you've almost killed them because you're casting a 10-drop.
Yeah. So even
if you get to attack once, they're probably just dead.
Best case scenario, you maybe get to attack with the Ulamog like turn 7, 8 at the earliest if you can ramp into it really well. So at that point, they've drawn their first 7 and probably 8 or 9 more cards, and now you're milling them for 20. Or no, you're not milling them. You're exiling 20 cards.
Yeah.
That is obscene.
Yeah.
And presumably you have other stuff on the board, which means those 20 exiled cards are now yours to do stuff with.
Hopefully, yeah.
And so I would say that this is just as powerful and scary as Annihilator without preventing the other player from actually being able to play the game of Magic.
Yeah.
Well, top 20 is pretty...
No, but they can still do
hard.
stuff, right?
Yeah.
They still have their permanence on the board. They can still draw spells and cast it because they haven't had to sack their lands. They can still block because they haven't had to sack their creatures.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like they don't just like lose in the most like crippling, unfun way possible.
No, absolutely.
Well, like, yeah, because the best example of that was Emrakul, right?
Yeah.
Cast Emrakul, get another turn, Annihilator 6.
Yeah.
Right.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, but
It's
it
like-
costs 15. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's Ulamog, and
Yeah.
there's Emrakul.
Wibbly, wibbly, wibbly.
Emrakul. No. Go away, bro. All right,
So,
so...
beside that is another mythic.
This card's ridiculous.
Sorry about my microphone there. Apologize. Void Winnower. 9 mana for an 11/9. I don't think have we ever seen an 11/9
I've never seen.
in the history of Magic.
I've never seen.
I don't think so.
But
this is amazing. You can probably guess what the nickname's going to be when that podcast comes around, but we won't go there for now. Your opponents can't cast spells with even converted mana costs, noting that 0 is even. Your opponent can't block creatures with even converted mana costs.
this is such a weird card.
Cam, you've taken some pretty high level math courses.
Yeah.
Do you have any outside of the game of Magic? Do you have any concerns with the assertion that 0 is even?
No, that's fine.
Okay, I wasn't sure if it was like mathematically.
No,
That's actually not the case.
I'm sure that Wizards R&D has some pretty deep math nerds.
That's true, actually.
Or at least their rules committees do.
Yeah.
Apparently there are some luxuriously detailed judge forum posts about how you can't actually go infinite.
Of course. And the best part about any rules things is if anyone has any complaints about it, Matt Tabak can fight you.
Yeah.
So he's a big guy. He's basically an Eldrazi himself. So, I mean, no one's going to be bringing this in as like tech against Hangerback Walker, but that does stop Hangerback Walker.
It's true.
There's no converted mana cost you can have on Hangerback Walker that is not even because it's XX. So that's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, this guy's cute.
This is weird. It's
a
super weird.
card.
The second ability is very strange because, like, the first ability, we've seen stuff kind of like that, I'm thinking. Void Winnower, Chalice of the Void.
Right.
The naming conventions. I like when Wizards does that. So so Chalice of the Void was an XX artifact that, there it is. It enters with X charge counters on it. Whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters, then you counter that spell. And so this is just anything that is even you can't cast. But the second ability, where it's stuff you already have on the board, it's just like, oh, now just half my stuff is just can't block.
Yeah.
Which is weird.
Right?
It's the fact that it can't, it's because I would have expected that to actually just say can't attack or block or can't attack.
Yeah.
But it's just that it can't block is so odd.
Well, they probably can't attack either because their opponent has an
It's
11-9.
true. Yeah, I mean, they probably can't attack, but, you never know. This card is... do you first pick this card?
Probably.
Probably. I mean, it's still
It's an 11-9 for 9 that completely messes up like probably
Just
half your opponent's spells.
everything. Yeah. All right. So
No.
Sorry, Paul just from the other side of the room was asking, you can't voluntarily pay an extra 1 for Hangerback. And no, you can't because it's an XX.
XX.
And so the X's have to be
Equal.
the same cost. So if you pay 1, that's odd, but you have to pay 1 and 1, which makes it CMC 2, so that doesn't work. So it's always going to have an even.
although that's generally
CMC.
how you cast Hangerback Walker, and that's turn 2, and this is coming down on turn 9. So again, not tech for Hangerback Walker.
Something I like from a flavor perspective about Void Winnower being an 11-9 is that's really weird.
Yeah.
It's unusual and kind of unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's like, this creature's wrong.
Which I kind of feel like is
Yeah,
whatever.
I like that. All right, what's the next one along?
Oblivion Sower.
Wolf.
So for 6 mana, you get a 5/8. And so whenever you cast Oblivion Sower, target opponent exiles the top 4 cards of his or her library. Then you may put any number of land cards that player owns from the exile onto the battlefield under your control.
So, of course, the main takeaway is you exile 4 when you cast it. So even if you counter, that still happens. And this whole ability happens whether or not the spell gets countered. You get any number of land cards that they own in exile, regardless of how they got there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if
Let's
they're...
pretend that you had attacked with Ulamog the
Yeah.
turn before, or this turn.
Yeah.
And so you attack with Ulamog, you mill 20, or you exile 20,
Yeah.
and then you play Sower, exile another 4, and now you can take from those 24 exiled cards any land you want and just put them onto your battlefield.
Any number. And
Yeah,
then you're just
so-
like, I have all these cards now.
I want all of them.
Yeah, so how often do you think you might be able to cast Oblivion Sower for free, basically?
Ooh, that could be fun. Well, it's
If they've been delving away.
It's also
It's also a 5/8 for 6.
it's also a 6-drop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a 5. Like, ignore the ability. A 5/8 for 6 is actually pretty okay.
Pretty good.
It certainly blocks like a hell of a
Well,
thing.
especially that it's colorless too, right? Like,
Yeah.
This would just go in. I would put this basically into any deck.
Like right now in
in my
Origins,
hand,
we've
right?
got there's a 4/4 flyer for 6 colorless.
Yeah.
There was a 4/4 flyer for 6 colorless in Dragon's Block as well, the Scion of Ugin.
Yeah.
And a 5/8 for 6, I think, is way better than a
Then a 4/4
than a
flyer.
4/4.
Yeah, I think so.
And then that ability, you just get
significantly better with that ability. Yeah.
yeah,
So.
you just get random other value for that.
All right. What's up? What's
Yeah,
up
I
next?
think Ugin's got his job cut out for him here.
So we talked about being able to use those exile cards in other ways. So the next one is the Blight Herder. This is a 4/5 for 5, which
Also fine.
on its face is totally fine. When you cast Blight Herder, again, when you cast it, I love that all the Eldrazi have abilities when you on cast, not on ETB.
Yeah.
You may put 2 cards your opponents own from exile into their owner's graveyards. So you just go, those 2, they go in your bin now. But then if you do that, so if you can do that, you get 3 1/1 Eldrazi Scions. The Scions, they're like the spawn from before, except they're 1/1s, but you can still sacrifice them to get 1 colorless into your mana pool. So obviously you can't pay that effect if your opponent doesn't have anything in exile, but if they do, then you're getting a 4/5 and 3 1/1s for 5 colorless mana.
So you're getting 7 power, 8 toughness across 4 creatures for 5.
3 of which you can sack for mana.
For mana.
Is this the first processor we've seen?
Yes. So the processors is a new creature subtype. They get to use the cards in exile. They process that magical power,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah, okay.
What's up, Kathleen?
Well, also importantly, it's kind of cute looking.
It's a little cute, as Eldrazi's go.
It's definitely the cutest Eldrazi.
Cutest one we've looked at so far, for sure.
Yeah, look at all the little spawns on it. It's like a spider with all its babies on its back.
Well,
Yeah, I think
now
it's
less cute.
Out of curiosity, how much were the like Kozilek's Predator and Emrakul's Hatcher?
Kozilek Predator was 3 and a green.
Yeah,
they
Kozilek's Predator
4?
was a 4-drop, and Dread Drone and Emrakul's Hatcher were 5-drops.
5
Okay.
drops, yeah.
So Hatcher was 4 and a red, and Dread Drone was 4 and a black.
Yeah.
Notably for a 3/3 and a 4/1, respectively.
Yeah.
So this is already like way better.
Yeah.
Oh, that Raymond Swanland tech.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Beautiful art.
All right. Next up, Conduit of Ruin.
That's a good name.
6 mana for a 5/5 Eldrazi. When you cast Conduit of Ruin, you may search your library for a colorless creature with converted mana cost 7 or greater.
So probably an Eldrazi.
So probably an Eldrazi. From what we've looked at so far, you could look for Void Winnower or Ulamog, for
Yup.
instance. You reveal it, then you shuffle your library and put that card on top of it. All right? That's okay.
What if you're in limited and you don't have a target for that? What else happens with this guy?
So what else? Let's just pretend that's you don't have that. Do you play a 6/6 or a 5/5 for 6? It's like maybe.
Probably.
Again, these are all colorless, which
Yeah.
means they fit into just basically whatever deck you want.
The second ability
But
on
the
this
second
card
ability-
means I absolutely do.
Yeah, which is the first creature spell you cast each turn costs 2 colorless less. So you go and find that Winnower, let's say, which is the 9-drop that we talked about earlier, put it on top of your library, and then you draw it next turn, and you can cast it for 7. Or you go looking for Ulamog, who costs 10, and when you draw him or her, I can't remember actually. Them, right.
Well, they refer to Ulamog as a he. It's Emrakul
Yeah, Emrakul is
a lady and Kozilek is a dude, or at least that's the genders
right.
that have been applied to them by the Zendikari who worship them. There's a card actually with their
that they're
with the it's
the shrine to the nameless gods or the forgotten gods.
It has been spoiled. Where is it?
Well, either way, so you
Shrine of the Forsaken Gods.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. So that's Emiria in the back with the sort of the flying slight spaghetti thing, and then Eula on the left and Cozy on the right.
Right.
And that's Emrakul, Ulamog, and Kozilek.
Ah, okay. Cool. So back to Conduit. So yeah, you're going to play this regardless of what's in your deck. If you can't find a creature, there are creature cards. We'll talk about them more probably next week. There are definitely other creatures out there that cost more than 7.
Yep.
But obviously a lot of them are going to be Eldrazi. But even if you don't have anything to look for, you're still making creatures cost 2 less.
Yeah.
Which is just awesome. So this card seems super sweet.
I love this next card. Desolation Twin.
Yeah,
It's
this card is
so simple.
good.
10 out of
Yeah.
10 would play. It's a 10/10 for 10. But when you cast it,
But that's not all.
you get a 10/10 colorless token. It comes with a friend
Yeah.
when you cast it.
So
You're getting that 10/10.
so for for 10 mana, you're getting 20 power, 20 toughness across of 2 creatures. Now they don't have trample.
Scoop.
They can block these guys, all day with whatever they want. No damage is getting through, but it's still like 10/10s are big game. So I feel like this card's going to be pretty sweet. All right, next up is our first Devoid card.
Yeah, this was just spoiled today, I think.
Oh, was it? From Beyond.
This is super exciting. Have you seen this, Cam?
Yes, I
Yeah,
have.
so for 3 and a green, you get an enchantment. It is Devoid, which is a new mechanic. It reads, this card has no color. That's it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's across all zones.
Yes.
Yeah. In case, so when you're being asked to look for to search your library for a colorless creature, if the creature has Devoid, it's still colorless. In case you missed the Battle for Zendikar preview show, Mark Rosewater described this as in the original Zendikar block, there were Eldrazi in Rise of Eldrazi. There were Eldrazi that had different color identities. We were just talking about them. Kozilek's Predator was green, Emrakul's Hatcher was red, Dread Drone was black. But now the Eldrazi have fed on all the mana on the plane, and so from a mechanical perspective, you can't have the whole set be colorless. It actually doesn't work.
No.
And so what they've done here is the creatures and spells are colorless, but they cast for colored mana, and that's why they have the cool sort of card frame to remind you, like at the top it's still green, and then the color fades out because it's been eaten by the Phyrexians.
Yeah.
Phyrexians. The Eldrazi.
The Eldrazi, yeah.
Sorry, we opened the Scars of Mirrodin pack earlier. I get confused. Big ultimate evils. You guys remember Awakening Zone?
Yep.
This is like Awakening Zone. So Awakening Zone, 2 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of upkeep, you may put a 0/1 colorless Eldrazi creature token onto the battlefield. It has the sacrifice, add 1 colorless to your mana pool.
And that was the Eldrazi spawn.
Yeah. So now you make Scions. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature token onto the battlefield. It has sacrifice this creature, add 1 colorless to your mana pool, but it also has, for 1 and a green, sacrifice from beyond. Search your library for an Eldrazi card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your library.
So for 1 colorless more to cast the enchantment, you get a 1/1 every turn, which is way better than a 0/1.
Better than a 0/1. But then this also tutors up any Eldrazi you want.
So you put it out there, you let it make a whole bunch of Scions, and then you pop it to go get something.
And then you use
all the Scions, cast your your Desolation Twin or whatever.
This card is super sweet. I like this card a lot. All right, what's up next?
Smothering Abomination. So this I actually think is really cool. Before I talk about anything to do with the card, look at the art.
This is not cute.
No, it's not. But this is how the Eldrazi function. This is how they've been taking over Zendikar. They make all the little Scions and spawn, and they sort of spread themselves out, and they go out and they absorb all the mana, and then they get basically consolidated back into larger and larger Eldrazi.
Yeah.
So this guy, he's ripping apart a smaller Eldrazi because he's like, oh great, you've gotten full on all this mana, so now I'm going to eat you and take all the mana that you've eaten.
Yeah.
And then presumably this guy will get eaten by one of the Desolation Twins or something.
Yeah, similar to how the Tyranids worked in Warhammer 40k.
Oh, yeah.
They sent out all the little drones that looked like soldiers, but were actually just like an externalized digestive tract.
Yeah.
That ate the planet's surface, and then they would all fall over after a little while because they didn't actually
do anything.
Because they they starved to death eating everything.
Right.
And then other Tyranids would come along and eat them.
And then just get bigger that way.
Yeah, and then eventually they'd all get fed into like these pools of acid, and then the ships would eat those.
That's so weird. I love it.
Yeah.
It's so alien. So this guy, this Smothering Abomination, is 2 black for a 4/3 with Devoid. It's a flyer, so 4/3 flyer for 4. Pretty great.
Yep.
At the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice a creature. That's a tall ask.
Yeah, that's...
But whenever you sacrifice a creature, you draw a card.
Yeah, I mean, if you have a way...
So that means you're more likely to draw into being able to play more creatures to sacrifice to this creature.
Yeah, or,
exactly.
Yeah, something like From Beyond.
While you're hitting them for 4 in the air every turn.
Yeah. Yeah, this card seems fun.
Guess who's going into my standard deck?
All right, next up is Drowner of Hope. It's a blue Eldrazi. 5 and a blue for a 5/5 with Devoid. 6 mana for a 5/5, sure.
All right.
Whatever. When Drowner of Hope enters the battlefield, put 2 1/1 colorless Eldrazi Scion creature tokens onto the battlefield. They have the sack ability to add mana.
I love these Scions.
And then this also has sacrifice an Eldrazi Scion, tap target creature.
Oh, that's good.
So this card just gives you that extra bit of value that basically now gives all of your Eldrazi Scions 2 abilities, essentially, as long as this guy's still around. So pretty sweet.
It looks like there's a cycle of rare
rare
Eldrazi or Yeah, actually.
Sack outlets.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, rare Eldrazi sack outlets.
Yep.
Looks like we've only seen 3 of them though, because next up is Barrage Tyrant. This is the last of that cycle. 4 and a red for a 5/3 with Devoid, and for 2 and a red, sacrifice another colorless creature. Has to be colorless. Barrage Tyrant deals damage equal to that sacrificed creature's power to target creature or player.
That's pretty interesting.
Just pick up, again, I keep going back to this, pick up a Desolation Twin or the token and just chuck it at the guy's face.
I mean, that would be incredible.
Take 10.
Yeah.
On its surface, a 5/3 for 4 and a red is fine too. I mean, we've been playing Cobble Brute, which is 4 and a red for a 5/2.
Cobble Brute's 3 and a red.
Oh, it's 3 and a red. Yeah, that's right. Which is, I guess, yeah, that's true. That's significantly better when I hear it. Yeah. But yeah, the sacrifice ability is legit. And yeah, again, throwing your giant Eldrazi at people seems like a hilarious thing.
Well, I mean, you could also do it post-combat. Swing in with the 2 twins.
Yeah, and then just chuck,
It's like Fling, except it's on board.
I mean, hell, if you have 6 mana, you can sacrifice both of them. That's just
Response-
20. That's just 20 damage right there.
Or response to things.
That's going to be
or-
be a goal of ours for one of our drafts. By the way, now is to have this guy and the 2 10/10s and fling both.
The challenge there is going to be not having our opponent just scoop.
Yes, I mean that's always a problem.
The math works out, right? You cast the Desolation Twin on 10 mana.
Yep.
Then when you get to 11 mana, cast Barrage Tyrant and activate it twice.
Twice, yeah.
It's perfect.
You're
You can't-
definitely there.
can't
So
fail.
I assume that's how they designed it, right? So,
Do you want to talk about some of the uncommons, or do you want to talk about some of the multicolor Eldrazi?
I was actually just gonna.
Because I don't think we can do both in this episode.
Yeah, we definitely can't. Let's head down to the multicolor actually.
All right.
So,
this card. So this is not a creature. This is a colorless spell, but it casts for, colored mana, just like these creatures do. Yeah, Cam.
I hadn't seen this
it
yet.
was just spoiled today.
This is gross. Brutal Expulsion. 2 blue-red instant. So 4 converted mana cost, 2 blue-red. Choose one or both. Return target spell or creature to its owner's hand.
Spell.
So
Yep.
remand or unsummon.
Unsummon.
Yep.
They gave me back Venser.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Brutal Expulsion deals 2 damage to target creature or planeswalker. If that permanent would be put into a graveyard this turn, exile it instead. We know that the Eldrazi like using things with exile.
Yeah.
So you can either return a spell or creature, or you can deal 2 damage to creature or planeswalker, or you can do both.
And why wouldn't you want to do both?
Why wouldn't you do both?
I mean, I guess there are certain instances where you just need to deal 2 damage to something, or you need to counter it, and there's nothing to deal 2 damage for.
I guess.
But yeah, chances are you're basically always going to choose.
So like,
both.
I think so this doesn't straight up counter a spell per se, because countering makes it go to the graveyard.
Yes.
This says the spell doesn't happen and it goes back to their hand.
Yeah.
The spell, the effect of the spell is countered, but they get the spell back in their hand. So you're basically, I just wanted to say that because I'm gonna refer to that as countering, and I know that it's not, but just give me this.
It says remand, or unsummon.
So you're basically, I
Just
feel
no draw
like
cards.
most of the time you're going to be remanding and killing something.
Yeah.
Probably. But you could also like end of turn bounce something and kill something, and then be able to swing for lethal.
Maybe polish off that planeswalker.
There's no
that
instance
needs
where
to
you're
be-
casting this spell and you feel bad about it.
They gave me. Is it colored
Give it
lightning?
Give it
Is it
time.
colored blinding?
I promise you, Cam will have to cast a spell and feel bad about it.
If anyone could.
Yeah, it
I
will
believe
be
in Cam.
All right, next up is the Fathom Feeder.
Nom, 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 nom.
It is a 1/1 for a blue and black. It is an Eldrazi drone. It is devoid. It has no color. It has Death Touch.
Sweet.
Okay. And it has Ingest, which is something we haven't talked about yet. Ingest reads, whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player, that player exiles the top card of his or her library. So this is just another way to get cards into the exile zone for you to mess around with them.
So, because the drone is ingesting it,
Yeah.
and then later a processor will eat the drone and process and use that.
And use that
Which is
card.
cool.
And then for 3 blue, black, you draw a card, and each opponent exiles the top card of his or her library.
Hey, it's good early, it's good late.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel
In draft, I'm thinking mostly you'll just sort of run this out early.
you kind of want to, because you
It's-
kind of
it's like
want to just
typhoid
start.
rats.
You just want to ingest.
Yeah.
But I feel like your opponent is just gonna snap block this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like, to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how good this card actually is. Mainly just because it's a 1/1, and it's just traded across so easily. I mean, this thing trades with a Eldrazi Scion, right? So.
I
hope
mean,
it's
it's
good, though.
blue and black, so it's not like you're going to be able to run it out super early.
No, I mean, best case scenario, you get it out in turn 2, and then you attack turn 3 into
Something.
anything, and they're just going to be like block.
I feel like you actually want to draw this late, put it down, and then maybe you even have the mana. You sack a Scion or two. Just start drawing cards off it.
All right, what's up next?
A much better Drooling Grudian. This is the Brood Butcher. We'll bring up Drooling Grudian in a second. Brood Butcher, 3 black green for a 3/3 Eldrazi drone, has Devoid. When it enters the battlefield, you get 1/1/1 Scion with its normal sack ability. And for black and green and sack a creature, target creature gets -2/2 until end of turn.
The most savage of beats.
It's really good. So check out what I was talking about, Drooling Grudian. This is from original Ravnica, I think originally. This reprint is from Modern Masters 2015. So it's a 4/3 for 3 black, green. So it's 1 black more for a slightly larger creature. But the activated ability is 2 black, green, and sack a creature. You do get a pump, but the point of Drooling Grudian was to kill things. The pump was relevant, but the minus was much more relevant, and it was pretty sweet, if very clunky to use in Modern Masters specifically. Brood Butcher here is real good.
Yeah, I mean, it comes with the creature that you need to sacrifice to give -2/2 to somebody.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this card seems super sweet.
Oh, man. I only just saw this one. Did Nephalia Sea Kite get even better?
Ulamog's Nullifier.
Maybe not Nephalia Sea Kite, but Mystic Snake sure as hell grew up.
All right.
Really? What is this?
Let's take a look at it. 2 blue, black for a 2/3 Eldrazi Processor.
Okay.
It has Devoid. It has Flash. It has Flying.
Yep.
And it has, when Ulamog's Nullifier enters the battlefield, you may put 2 cards your opponents own from exile into their graveyard. If you do, counter target spell.
Whoa.
So, flash it in, put 2 cards from exile into their graveyard, counter a spell. Seems really good. Providing, I mean, let's just ignore that last, because, I mean, the requirements for that last clause are a lot higher, obviously, than anything else on this card. 2 blue-black for a 2/3 flyer with flash, I'm playing all the time. Like, that seems legit, right?
Is this
It's not-
Nephalia A- kite? Like, this is very good.
It's
So, sorry.
it's Mystic Sea Kite. Is
Sure.
I
Yeah.
guess what we're going to be calling it.
What we're talking about
But,
is the Nephalia Sea Kite was from Innistrad. It was a 2/3 flash flyer. It was a bird for 3 and a blue.
Yeah.
So this is the same CMC. It's a 2/3. It has flying. It has flash.
Yep.
Change one of those colorless for a black mana, and you get this Eldrazi. That if you're able to trigger that ability,
You also have a Mystic Snake.
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, this card is super good.
Yeah, like this is exactly what the blue-black control deck wants to be doing. It wants to be holding up its mana, countering a spell, and getting ahead. Sure, cool, awesome.
This is really good.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
card's sweet. Next.
Forerunner of Slaughter. He's got a little banner back there. Look at that guy.
Was this the first Eldrazi that was spoiled?
I think the Oblivion Sower actually was spoiled because
Okay.
it's in the dual decks.
Right.
So it's a 3/2 for a black and a red. So a 3/2 for 2. That's sweet.
Done.
Has Devoid, obviously. And honestly, I'm fine with the card just as a 3/2 for 2. It also has, for 1 colorless mana, target colorless creature gains haste until end of turn. So you can do
Yeah.
some shenanigans with that.
So like Battle Rampart.
Yeah,
Now
it is kind of like Battle
now
Rampart.
can swing.
Speaking of shenanigans, There's only 2 left, but this next one is mad shenanigans.
Herald of Kozilek.
This is disgusting.
1 blue red. So back into Is It for Cam here.
Yep.
For a 2/4.
That's good by itself.
That seems okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
It's
2/4s
battle
are like 2/4s are never exciting, but
Usually a 2/4 costs 4.
Yeah, you just normally play them. It's devoid, and it reads colorless spells you cast cost 1 colorless less to cast.
That seems really good.
So, Hangerback Walker. Like, this guy is made for Eldrazi, but he's going to be casting Hangerback Walkers.
Well, it also makes brutal expulsion a 3 cast.
Yep.
From earlier that we were talking about, which
That,
makes it pretty ridiculous.
That Mystic Sea Kite is again only 3 mana.
Anything. This makes literally any card that we've talked about today cost 1 less, because every card that we've talked about has been colorless.
That's so good.
So that's super sweet. I'm really excited for Devoid and this whole way that they've made this work. I think it's really neat. So,
and then last one that we'll be talking about today, because we've been talking about a lot of Eldrazi, the Catacomb Sifter. 1 black green for a 2/3. Fine, 3 mana for a 2/3. No NBD. When it enters the battlefield, you get a 1/1 Eldrazi Scion. All right, so a 2/3 and a Scion for 3 mana. I'm pretty sold. Whenever another creature you control dies, scry 1.
Sweet.
So it's Viscera Seer in a format where you're obliged to be sacrificing Eldrazi Scions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I sacrifice 5 spawns to cast my Ulamog. I'm just going to scry 5 right now. Seems good.
You're already casting Ulamog, so you're sort of winning the game right there.
Yeah, but that's just feel bad. That's just like, I still got all these.
Sorry, before I resolve Ulamog, I'm going to scry 1 5 times. Hold up, please.
Yeah, just
no,
wait.
Hold up, please. I have not passed priority yet.
Yeah, there you go.
Utter ruination.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
Come back. I wasn't done beating
I want
you.
to play.
I'm really stoked for this format.
Yeah, this whole set looks really neat.
How hard do you think people are going to be trying to like make 5 colors happen?
Pretty often, although I think the set will reward you for sticking with the standard 2 color combinations as well.
Yeah, because even though we've said that all these things are colorless, a lot of them still have actual colored casting costs.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't actually look like it's shaping up to be that different from a normal set. Like, these are all... Like, there's a smattering of gold cards. There's more gold cards here than there were in Origins, but some of them are rare. Some of them are uncommon. There probably won't be any common gold Eldrazi, I wouldn't think, just because it's a little bit more complex to have it common. I could be wrong. But I think this will actually draft fairly normally color-wise, just with a higher percentage of colorless spells in a given deck, which makes it, that definitely reduces the... downside to playing multiple colors.
Yep.
But I feel like this will stay
it's
pretty
also gonna,
straightforward.
So,
because most of the fixings are rare.
Well,
too.
I was going to say we'll talk about more cards next week, probably including the lands, the whatever we're going to call them, duels, and the new man lands. But both of those sit at rare, so you don't have things like the gates to push through those crazy 5 color decks.
But there's
the
a lot
mana
of
base just might not support it.
A lot of commons and uncommons we haven't
seen
yet.
There's
so
still
we don't
a
know.
whole lot of cards
we don't know what
yet,
lower commonality fixing is going to look like.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was living in a beautiful world where I'd forgotten that nickname conversation was still happening, and then you reminded me.
Yep, still going. I've tapped out. I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't care
think Cam
anymore.
is right. I think Cam called it correctly. I think everyone's just going to start calling them the BFZ duels, and just because there's so many different nicknames that people are going to be like, oh, it's the blur 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 lands, and like, what, the BFZ duels? Oh yeah, them. And so yeah, people are just going to. I think you called it correctly. There's too many different.
Well, the thing is that
names.
All the other nicknames sort of just come by way of playing the game, and something catches on and that happens. But for some reason with these cards specifically, there was just this massive rush because somebody wants to be that person who gets to name these lands for all of eternity, and I think that's what's led to just this mass hysteria when it comes to these lands. So.
It's what we call colonialism.
I imagine them being announced at the preview show, and then just like the next morning cut to like a conference room in like a skyscraper looking out over a city or something, and there's like a bunch of guys in suits sitting around there looking all nervous, and then like a CEO runs in and is like, "Gentlemen, we have to name these lands."
Yeah,
like that's how
exactly.
it sort of felt.
Yeah.
What's up, Kathleen?
I think the important thing to remember is no matter what you want to call them, if you want to call them Tango lands, you are wrong.
I agree with you.
Countdown to the comments for this podcast being exclusively, I like Tango Land.
A lot
Yeah.
of people do like Tango Lands.
I
so-
know, and I disagree,
Yeah.
which is fine. We're allowed to disagree.
I will say
I just hugely disagree.
nobody's wrong for calling them anything. Just don't call them BFC duels because I don't like that.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It has to.
It's so boring though.
I know. I agree.
I'm gonna-
I want them to have a cool nickname too.
Yeah.
But everyone wants them to have a different nickname.
Yeah, I know. It's tricky.
Anyway,
Force it.
until next time, this podcast, Tap Tap Concede, is brought to you by you and your kind support of our Patreon at patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Check it out there. We hugely appreciate it because it supports not only this, but a bunch of other stuff that we do. And next week, we'll be talking about more Battle for Zendikar preview cards because we are quite hype.
Yep. Well,
Best
that's
time of the year.
You won't be talking about more Battle for Zendikar.
No, I won't be here
cards,
next week.
But you should be
Because the Community Cup is next weekend, which you should watch
Yeah,
on Saturday and Sunday at twitch.tv/magic.
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
So, talk to you next time. Bye, everybody.